Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to our fourth lesson of Learn Arabic from the Quran. And today's topic is going to be possessive construction, and which we will cover an introduction of on this topic. Let's get started. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So in Arabic, the term for possession is idafa. And idafa in English would be the equivalent of a possession or belonging represented by of. So let's take a very easy example to understand idafa or possessive construction. So Muhammadun Rasulullahi. So Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the messenger of Allah. So how do we indicate this of in Arabic? We indicate it by putting these two nouns together in a special construction called idafa. So the meaning is messenger of Allah. In English, we can also say Allah's messenger with an apostrophe S. In this case, Allah comes first, but here in Arabic, Allah comes after. So it's closer to this kind of construction, right? Because Allah comes after, which is the possessor, and the thing possessed is Rasul, and that comes first. So messenger of Allah. So we will look at more examples to understand this construction. So again, let's take this example here. Qasrul Maliki. So Qasr in Arabic means palace, and Malik is king. So the palace of the king. Qasrul Maliki. Okay, this is an idafa construction. It shows palace of the king. Okay, so again, the first term, which is the qasr, right? It is the thing that is possessed. And the second term, al-malik, is the possessor. So the possessor comes after, and the thing, it comes first. So let's take more examples. So Kitabu Bilalin, again, book of Bilal. So book comes first, and Bilal is the owner. So it comes after. Kitabu Bilalin. Another example, Baytul Imami, house of the Imam. So Imam is the possessor, and Baytu is the thing possessed, which comes first. Okay, so house of the Imam, or in English, you can say Imam's house. In this case, Bilal's book with an apostrophe S. So these constructions are called idafa. They are possessive construction. They show ownership, right? Baytul Imami, Kitabu Bilalin, Kasrul Maliki. So let's talk a little bit of terminology. In Arabic, the first term has a name. So the first term, Kitabu, is called mudaf. And the second term right here is called mudaf ilayhi. Mudaf ilayhi. Okay, so Bilalin is the possessor. It is called mudaf ilayhi. So these terms you can learn slowly. You don't have to learn it all the terminology up front. The main thing is to understand and recognize these types of constructions. And we are going to look at more examples today. So once again, to go over the terminology, idafa is possessive construction. Mudafun is the first term. Kitabu Muhammadin. So, and then this is the second term. Mudafun ilayhi. It is called mudafun ilayhi. Okay. All right. So now we look at some more rules associated with this kind of construction. Okay. So let's look at this. when we said kitabu, we cannot put an al here in front of it, okay? It would be wrong to put an al. The reason is because when you say kitabu bilalin, even though the al is not there, kitab is already definite. Why? Because it is definite by position, because the book belongs to Bilal. I'm not talking about any book, a book. If I say a book is on the table, I'm talking about any book, right? A book. But if I say al-kitab, I'm talking about the book. But here you don't put the al, but it's still definite. You don't put this al, but it's still definite. Why? Because the Bilal is definite. The second term is definite. So because you're looking at this construction together, Kitabu Bilalin, the book belongs to Bilal. So automatically this kitab is definite. It doesn't need that al in front of it to make it definite. So that's what it means by it is definite by position. It is definite because it belongs to Bilal. Okay, so by nature, it is definite. You don't need to put that al. The al is redundant. It's extra. You don't put it because it's already definite. So it would be wrong to put that al in there. You also do not put a tanween. That is also wrong. Mudaf will never ever take tanween. Okay, so it's kitabu Bilal. And now the second term will take tanween. The second term will also take al, right? But because Bilal is a name, you don't put al in front of Bilal, right? Even though Bilal is definite. So we make these two very important observations about the idafa construction. Number one, the mudaf for the first term will not take the definite article and it will not take tanween. Okay. Now let's look here. So this is the correct way to write this. Baitu Bilalin. Okay. So the second thing that we notice, which is how you would recognize that this is an idafa, is the second term will always be majroor, always majroor. It will always take a kasra, single kasra or a tanween kasra. Baitu Bilalin. Okay. Here it took a tanween kasra, and in this next example, it took a single kasra, but it is still in majroor status, which is it has a kasra. The second term will end always with the kasra. Okay, it is majroor. The mudaf ilayhi, which is the second term, will always take a kasra. So baitul imami. All right, and the first term can either have a dhamma, it can have a fatha, or it can have a kasra. But the second term will always have a kasra. So again, just a review of what we have already learned. So idafa or possessive constructions shows possession between two nouns. It is a special construction called al-idafa. And in this construction, the al or tanween of the first noun is removed. And the second is placed into the genitive case. Genitive case, because it has a kasra. Genitive case, as we said, is called majroor, majroorun. So kitabul waladi, book of the boy. Kitab, book of the boy. Okay, so here kissatu means story, story of the woman. So the first term will not have an al. Do not put an al here, and it cannot have a tanween here. It will have a single dhamma, no tanween in the mudaf, no tanween in the first term. Kissatu, kissatu, and then how do you denote the second term? It's always going to have a kasra, and because it has an al, it will have a single kasra, right? So kissatul imraati. Kissatul imraati. Imraati means woman. So the story of the woman. So again, this is just telling you that in the idafa, you get rid of the tanween. You cannot, if this baitun, you cannot have tanween. Look, this term doesn't have tanween. You say baitul mudarrisi, and this u becomes e. This tells you this is a possessive construction. Baitul mudarrisi. Now, again, let's look at it as another review slide. So mudaf and mudaf ilayhi, right? We talked about these two terms, mudaf, first term, and mudaf ilayhi. Shows the possessive of or s construction. So kitabu bilalin. So the first term is called mudafun. It can take any case ending, but never tanween, cannot have tanween or al. And it is here in this case, it is definite. Why is it definite? Because the book belongs to Bilal. It's definite by nature. Okay, the second term, Bilal, is called mudafun ilayhi. It is always majroor. It can take tanween or it can take al. Okay, like as you can see here, it took a tanween. Even though Bilal is definite, it took a tanween because it's the name. And in this second example, maktabul mudarrisi, maktab means here, table. So table of the teacher. Again, notice it has a dhamma, and this has a kasra in the second term, right? So the second term is called mudafun ilayhi. It is majroor. In this case, it has an al. It has an al. To make it definite, we're talking about the table of the teacher. Table of the teacher, specific table of the teacher. Now, the mudaf and mudaf ilayhi can be indefinite. For example, what if I want to say a book of a student? A book of a student. Let's say that none of them are definite. Then what do you do? So a book is kitab. So you would write kitab. Kitab. And then you say a dhamma here. Kitabu. And then what do you do here? Talibin. If it's indefinite, you don't put an al, right? So then you don't put an al because now it is a student. So this time the idafa is indefinite, right? Because you're talking about a book of a student. Kitabu talibin. So in this case, in this example that I've shown here, it is nakira, indefinite, because the mudaf ilayhi is indefinite, because the second term is indefinite. The first term is also indefinite by nature, by its position, it's indefinite. A book of a student. This is less common. This is a very less common use. This is the more common use, which is the definite use is more common. So again, to recap, this is wrong because here the first term of the idafa has a tanween, wrong. Again, first term of the idafa has a al. It's not correct. Again, incorrect because the second term of the idafa needs to be majroor. It cannot be marfu, mudaf ilayhi. The second term, mudaf ilayhi, cannot be marfu'un. It has to be majroor. Okay, so why is this wrong? Because mudaf ilayhi cannot be mansubun. It has to be majroorun. This is correct. Kitabu bilalin. This is the only way to express idafa construction. This last one is correct. So let's look at some examples from the Quran. So here, it's saying here, yaqulul kafirun. The disbelievers are saying, what are they saying? Haza, this, yawmun. Yawmun means day, and asirun, which means hard. So tell me, look carefully, is this an idafa? Is this an idafa? It is not. Why? Many clues. It has a tanween. It cannot be idafa. The first term cannot have tanween. Is this, and the second term has to be majroor, and it's not. So there's no way this is an idafa. What is this? This is asirun, is just an adjective describing the day. We will talk about adjectives in a future lesson, but the adjectives, it matches the word that it's describing. So this is a hard day. In Arabic, the adjectives come after. In English, it came before. So this is a hard day. Okay. So this is a hard day. This is not idafa. Now look at this example. Hada yawmul fasli. Hada means this is. Yawm means day. A day of decision. Is this an idafa? Yes, it is an idafa. Day of decision. Look at if all the conditions of idafa are there. Yawmu, no tanween, no al. But is this a definite? The day, is it definite? Yes, because it's talking about a specific day. Which specific day is it? The day of decision. And look, how is it definite? Because this second term has the definite article al. So by position, yawmu is definite. Yawmu is definite by position. Yawmul fasli. And look, this is majroor. It meets the condition of the second term, which has to be in majroor status. So yawmu is mudaf and al-fasli is mudaf ilayhi, which is definite. Now look at this third example. ذَلِكَ يَوْمٌ مَشْهُودٌ. So is this an idafa? Is this an idafa? No. The translation says day of testimony. This is not the best translation. It's not an idafa construction. The better translation would be that will be a witnessed day, because this is serving as an adjective for that word. Yawmun is day. Mashhudun means witnessed. So that is a witnessed day. This is not an idafa construction, okay? So this is an adjective describing a day. So let's look at this verse here and just try to find some of the idafas. You're not going to be able to recognize all of them, but some of them that we have covered in this introduction lesson. So we can take help from this translation to identify the idafa. See, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not the father of. You see the ofs? Let's find the ofs. So he's not the father. Aba ahadin. This is the idafa. Ahadin. Right? So we are not going to cover this because we haven't done this kind of idafa yet. So we look at this. Easy. Messenger of Allah. This is an idafa. We covered this. Rasul lallahi. Look. It's majroor, right? This one was also majroor. And this khatim an-nabiyyin, this is also idafa. I know you cannot see the kasra here that we talked about, but that is because this is plural and we haven't covered plural yet. Okay, but this, just for your information, you're not supposed to be understanding this one right now, but this is also an idafa, khatam an-nabiyyin, because this is a plural. وَكَانَ اللَّهُ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ, another idafa right here, aliman. So kulli shay'in, if you do a direct translation, it doesn't sound good, but what it is kulli means all and things. So all of things. All of things. This is not the perfect translation, but just so you understand the idafa construction. Okay, kulli shay'in. Okay. So shay'in is the second term of the idafa. That's why it has the tanween kasra on it. And that's what it's showing here, okay? So let's look at some examples from the Quran of idafa. So people of the paradise, ashabul jannati. Notice this kasra. So people of the paradise. This is the second term of the idafa. Mudaf ilayhi is majroor. Ashabun nari. People of the fire. Second term has a kasra. It is majroor, and it has the definite article al. First term does not carry the al, but it is definite idafa. It is a definite idafa. People of the fire. Ashabul fili, people of the elephant. Nasrullahi. So this is a definite. It is not any kind of help. It is definite. Even though it doesn't have al in front of it, it is definite. We're talking about specific help of Allah. Okay, so this is definite. It doesn't have the al, but by its position, it is definite because of Allah is definite. So this is in majroor status. Abdullahi, did you know that? Whenever we say slave of Allah, the name Abdullahi is an idafa construction. So you learned something new today, that the name Abdullahi is an idafa construction. So slave of Allah, it is specific, right? This is specific. This is definite by its position. This is majroor. Rahmatullahi, specific mercy. It is definite. Mercy that is specific. It is mercy of Allah. Baitullahi, again, not any house. Even though it doesn't have an al in front of it, we are not talking about any house. It is the house of Allah, right? The Kaaba, house of Allah. So bait is definite. And the second term is always majroorun. So because this is definite, the first term is definite. So these are called idafa constructions. The first term is called mudaf, and the second term is mudaf ilayhi. So we are done with this, the slides. Now we're going to practice a little bit more from some examples from the Quran. So again, we're talking about two nouns that come together in the possessive form, right? So as we said, the tanween or the nunation is dropped. We talked about this already from the first noun. So if it's a dhamma, it will be single dhamma, fatha, kasra will remain, but the tanween will be gone. The second noun we said will always have a kasra, right? Or tanween, kasra. All right, now. Okay, I believe the screen sharing got paused. Let's go back into sharing that. All right. So you can see the screen now. Okay, but the page number is not where it needs to be. Okay, there we are. Okay, so we are going to look at these examples here. So it's an idafa construction here. So it was narun, it became narullahi, right? So it was rasulun. If you join it into idafa construction, it becomes rasulullahi. Here it was ashabun, it becomes ashabul quburi, right? Here it was kitabun, it becomes kitabukum. Baitun, it was plus ka. If you add ka, it becomes baituka. Okay, we haven't studied pronouns yet. That's a future lesson. So you are not really expected to know these two examples yet. But just for your information, we haven't studied this pronouns yet. Ka means your house, and this means your house plural. We will cover this in a later lesson, inshallah. All right, now we are going to just look at a couple of more examples before we end our lesson here. Okay, so let's look at this right here. Some, again, examples from the Quran. We observe the shaded part of the verses to go over the idafas. So Rabbin Nas, right? This is idafa, Lord of mankind. Nasrullahi, we covered this before. Laylatul Qadri, beautiful night of power, that's in idafa. Look at this one. This one is a definite idafa because it has an al. Compare that to this one. This one doesn't have an al on the second term. So that makes the first term indefinite. You see, because the second term was indefinite, the first term by its position becomes indefinite. We are talking about 1,000 months. Okay, 1,000 months. We're not talking about the 1,000 months, right? So alfi shaharin. This is the second term of the idafa. It is showing the kasra, tanween kasra to indicate that it's indefinite. So the first term becomes indefinite. Look at this. Rabbis samawati. We say this all the time, right? Lord of the universe. Of the universe means this is plural actually. Universes, right? So this is an idafa construction. Fadlillahi, grace of Allah. Azabul hariqi, torment of fire. We already did this one. Nurus samawati, heavens, nur, light of the heavens and the earth. How beautiful. This is idafa, right? Again, plural. Okay. Yawmul khuruji, the day of coming out, coming forth. This is an idafa, definite idafa. Is it a day? No, it's that particular day when people will be coming out of their graves. This is a specific day. So this is why it has an al on the second term. Naqatullahi, naqatullahi. This is camel of Allah. Ibnullahi, son of Allah. Darus salami, home of safety. Ardullahi, right? This is earth of Allah. Earth of Allah. Wasi'atun is spacious. This is an idafa construction. Okay. We already did this one. This is ayatullahi. This is signs of Allah. Definite. This is definite. Specific signs of Allah we're talking about, right? Dar is salami. May Allah grant us this. Home of peace. This is an idafa construction. So hopefully when you say this next time, you can say it with more feeling, right? Allah yad'u ila daris salami. Allah calls you to the home of peace. Dar means home. Daris salami, home of peace. Inshallah. So, fasbir inna wa'adallahi haqqun. Wa'adallahi. This is promise of Allah. This is also an idafa construction. Wa'adallahi. Is it any promise? No, it's the promise of Allah. This wa'ada is definite because the Allah is definite. So wa'adallahi. This is an idafa construction. So hope that was an introduction for you to understand idafa. We will cover it again in the future. And so that ends our lesson today. Jazakallahu khairan for attending. And assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.